Welcome, everyone. We have quite a few people joining us today for our webinar with LC Academics and course registration. We're just going to wait another minute or so as everyone comes in. I can see our participants becoming attendees, slightly shifting. Looks like we have maybe almost 70 people here joining us today. Very, very exciting. I think it seems like the pace of this has sort of hit its crescendo. So I'm now going to start. Welcome, everyone. My name is Rocky Campbell. I use he, him pronouns. I'm the Associate Vice President of Student Engagement here at Lewis and Clark. I've worked at Lewis and Clark for 10 years in a variety of roles and was an undergraduate student here many, 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 many years ago. As I've mentioned before, I am very privileged to be able to work with my wonderful colleagues, Mary Prentice and Gabby, who I know a lot of you have been texting with and messaging with, to welcome you to Lewis and Clark. But on behalf of our new student peer mentors, who you'll be getting to meet in the next few weeks, and the rest of my colleagues here at Lewis and Clark, we're here to help ease your transition to college life and help prepare you to make the most of your LC experience. Today is our office's last webinar of the summer. I know that there's another webinar coming up from some other offices, and we're here to talk about registering for classes. I remember how excited and nervous I was when I was going to pick my first classes over 30 years ago when I was here at Lewis and Clark. It really made my transition to college feel real for me. I knew I was starting like the next step in my education and life. My advisor did a really good job of helping me pick a broad array of courses that were related to what I thought my academic interests were, as well as to what some of my general education requirements were going to be at the time. As I took those classes, my interests changed. And because of like what my advisor had done and the courses that I had like picked in the beginning, it really made it easy to adapt to that change. Um, Today, my colleagues are going to talk about the strategy and the practical sort of tasks of course registration. Um, and I encourage you to use all of this information and all of the resources that you have available to you at Lewis and Clark. A little work now really makes the rest of your life in this process a lot easier. And I also want to leave you with the little things like you don't have to have it all figured out, and you don't have to have it all figured out when you meet with an advisor. They're actually here to help you figure it out. Obviously, if you have some ideas and plans, that's great, but don't panic and feel like you have to have everything fully thought out when you meet with someone. So that's my last sort of practical tip here. And now it's my privilege to turn this over to our College Advising Center team, who is here to walk you through course registration and to help you rock your first semester here at Lewis and Clark. Katie, can I turn it over to you?
You can, Rocky. Thank you. I'm Katie McFadden. I'm the director in the College Advising Center. I'm going to let my two colleagues in the center introduce themselves, and then I'll be kind of driving most of the talking and the webinar part, but Bailey and Nikki are going to be behind the scenes answering Q&A. So if you have questions throughout the presentation, you can put them in the Q&A and we'll do our best to answer. And this webinar will be recorded. So at various points, I'm going to demonstrate how to do things, and don't panic if you like miss something. We will do a recording, we'll post that. So I would recommend just kind of sitting and absorbing, maybe taking a few notes, but not trying to do everything as I do it. I think that can result in like missing some information or getting confused. So just kind of absorb and then let the recording fill in some gaps later. And we'll talk about some other resources you can access on your own time too. Okay, Bailey, you want to maybe go first and then Nikki?
Yeah, I can go first. Hello, my name is Bailey Cooper. I am a college advisor here at Lewis and Clark. I have been in contact with some of you, and it's great to get to like have some face-to-face time. But yeah, I'll go ahead and let Nikki introduce herself.
Great. Thanks so much, Bailey. My name is Nikki Yeomans. I am a college advisor here at Lewis and Clark. I'm also an alumni of Lewis and Clark, like Rocky. I went here back in 2013 to 2015 at the undergraduate campus and also attended our graduate campus as well. I've really enjoyed all the conversations I've had with everyone so far and look forward to chatting with more of you throughout the summer and into the future.
Awesome. Okay, so I'll start with just kind of a big picture description of how advising works at Lewis and Clark. I know different schools do this different ways. So each of you is assigned to one of us in the College Advising Center. And we stay matched with you all the way through your time here. We're the ones emailing you this summer about some course planning. We remain a resource to you throughout your time here. You can feel free to come see us to make a 4-year plan, talk through any big academic decisions, maybe just get a second opinion on some things. Transfer students, you've already been matched with a faculty advisor, and first-year students, we will match you with a faculty advisor later this summer. This is the person that you'll meet with at orientation, and it's the person you'll be required to meet with each term before you register. Once you declare a major, your faculty advisor swaps out for someone in the department that you're declaring. So let me shift this a little bit. So, this model is really designed to give you multiple points of contact and multiple points of view and people you can go see and resources. So please do get to know us, get to know your faculty advisor. It helps us advise you better when we understand your goals and we can tailor our advice accordingly. You chose Lewis and Clark, so hopefully you don't need much convincing that studying at a liberal arts college is a great decision, is a very strategic decision. And we really pride ourselves in having students learn not just about various topics during their time here, but then really finding opportunities to put that learning into action through research projects and experiential learning and working intensively with faculty. So we put a lot of value on your independence as a scholar and a learner, and we give you space within the curriculum to explore and design a course of study that fits your interests. You can really see that value play out in the requirements and what we encourage you to do and promote you to do and give you space to do. So here's at a really big picture level what that looks like. Everybody needs at least 128 credits to graduate. And you'll spend roughly a third of that on general education requirements and about a third of that on a major. You need at least one major to graduate. And look how much that leaves for electives, which is code for like anything you want. And some students use that space to add another major or a minor, but really it's where you could take advantage of all kinds of things like overseas semester or classes taken for interest or exploring other topics that kind of round out what you like best about your major. So it's really where you see the exploration value like put into action. We give you a lot of space for that. The general education, or sometimes Gen Ed is what it's called, refers to a set of requirements that's designed to help students explore the breadth of our curriculum. And how you fulfill each requirement can depend in part on your interests. Like there's a long list of classes that fill each category, so you can kind of tailor it to what you're most interested in. And we find that most students often assume they need to complete Gen Ed requirements as soon as possible. Students will tell me that, oh, I want to get it done as soon as possible. Or I assume I have to do this all in the first year. It's like, nope, that's not true. And in fact, I think it's wise to actually explore some of your areas of interest you think you want to major in and kind of sprinkle in the Gen Ed as you go. There's truly no pressure from us, and it's not designed to be something that you do all in the first year or as quickly as possible. Your students are often surprised by how they fulfill some Gen Ed almost without meaning to by exploring courses they're interested in. If you're a transfer student, you can tune out for this slide because transfer students are exempt from the first year seminar requirement. But for first years, the first year seminar or the core class is the only thing you're required to take in the first year. The students will ask that out loud, say, is there anything I have to take in the first year? Just core. Everyone does words and numbers. You do one of the classes in the fall and you do the other one in the spring. And all of you have been placed, the first years you've been placed in your core class and you received an email about it, about your placement. You can also check self-service to see the course you were placed into. Again, you just do one of them in fall and the other one in spring. I'll touch a little bit on majors. I just always encourage students not to get stuck on the idea that by choosing your major, you're choosing a specific career. Or sometimes students will say, oh, I just feel like I'm choosing the rest of my life. Remember, this is a liberal arts school, and so there's a lot of space, and we're not designing the majors to route you into one specific job. It's actually much broader than that. So we have a lot of people in programs and time at Lewis and Clark to help you figure out how the major will connect to your life after graduation. What you first try, like Rocky said, I think you touched on this, Rocky, is totally true. What you try first might not be the thing you end up majoring in. That's normal. That's okay. We build that room in to explore on purpose. I think the ideal major is something you're interested in a department where you feel at home, and with faculty you enjoy working with. That is a great recipe. If you're a transfer student, depending on the number of semesters you have left to graduate, you might need to focus on a major sooner and kind of narrow in sooner, but there's probably still room to explore a little bit. If you're a first year student, I would say a great goal for this fall is just to try a couple things on your short list and just give it a go, see how you like it. So that's kind of the framing of the requirements. We can pivot now to sort of steps you'll take in prep for registration. We're getting close to registration. It takes place in 2 rounds on July 29th and the 31st, and everyone participates in both rounds. On July 29th, starting at 10 a.m. Pacific time, first years, you can register for 1 4 to 5 credit class. Transfers, you can register for 2 classes. And then on Friday, July 31st, also starting at 10 a.m. Pacific time, you can register for the rest of your fall credits. You're only registering for fall semester at this time. You'll register for spring semester later. By now, you've hopefully taken placements if you need to and set up your emergency contact info in self-service. Instructions for these items are in your checklist, your new student checklist. I'm not going to go into details on how to do them or details about them today. Just know there's still time to do both. If you would like to take a class in fall that depends on a certain placement score, you should really take the placement as soon as possible. That way there's time for the score to be entered in the system. Sometimes students assume the placement score is like automatically put in the system as soon as they submit the placement, and it's not. You want to build in like a couple business days buffer so that score is in there. Let's talk for a second though about developing a list of classes. This is the part where it's exciting. Like college gives you a lot of choice and a lot of freedom, but all of that choice can take a little getting used to, and it sometimes weirds students out in the beginning, especially if you're coming from a school where options were limited or the school made a lot of the decisions for you. So this is going to be for most students like a bit of a paradigm shift. They'll say, where's the list of what I'm supposed to take, or just tell me what I'm supposed to take. And really, you are now in the driver's seat of that car, deciding where you want to go and what you want to try first. But we have some tools to help narrow it down and not feel quite so, we hope, overwhelming. For first year students, this is like a basic formula you can use to follow for your first semester. So remember, you're already registered for core. Most students take like 3 additional courses alongside core. And for those 3 courses, I'd recommend just exploring a couple areas of interest. Maybe you can fit in a general education requirement. Maybe there's a class in there you're really excited about, something for fun. Since most classes are 4 credits each, this will add up to about 16 credits, which is right where you want to be to hit, your total credit goals. Okay, so for developing that list of classes, how do you find what you put in that list? I've put a QR code here, but I can also navigate to our website and show you. We have a page designed to help you narrow it down. From our College Advising Center homepage, click Major Minor Exploration on the side and Getting Started in a Major or Minor. This is essentially all the programs and departments have made a list of recommendations on what to take in fall if you want to get started and try this area out. So I'm going to pick on Bailey real quick. Bailey, you're gonna pretend you're entering college again. So Bailey going to college, what were some areas that you would have wanted to try out?
I think 18-year-old Bailey would have definitely wanted to do Studio of Arts,
Okay,
um, maybe some international affairs, and probably would have been maybe interested in like studying French.
great, lovely. So we would click into Bailey, would click into art and see that the department recommends trying a course, a studio course. Really, any of these would be okay. So you might make note of that. Or if art history is also of interest, you'd say, okay, Art 100 is recommended, or maybe one of these. Notice that not all the recommendations are 100 level. That's normal. It's pretty normal as a first year that you might take a 200 level class. That's okay. We can scroll down to French, where of course they're saying if you've never taken French before, start with 101 or do the placement exam. International Affairs is recommending that you start with IA 100, and there's some other options to consider. So I'd use this list to just, write it down on a piece of paper. Okay, I've got my list of classes. And then we would use that to go into self-service and put those classes in our plan in preparation for registration. So Bailey and Nikki, is there anything I should pause at this moment and just clarify or answer? I know you've had your eye on the Q&A before I kind of do that demonstration.
We haven't had too many questions come in yet, but someone did ask about core registration for words or numbers, and students should already have been registered for those courses, which you can find in self-service. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out to your advisor. And the first year checklist page also has a course description of all of those classes. So if you just see the core number, but you don't know which class or which topic you're studying, you can refer there.
Okay, great. Yeah. Okay, let's see if I can I'm gonna go into a student test account for self-service, so let's see if it behaves. So bear with me for a second. Yes, it did. Great. Okay. So from the main page in self-service, you'll click on course catalog. Make sure you're in advanced search and section listing, which for me is the default, but I just mention it in case yours doesn't default there. You'll select the term, and then you can select some subjects. So for Pretend Bailey, we're going to put in art and French and international affairs. I usually stop there as an advisor, but you can filter further. You could search for a particular number, course number. You could search for certain days of the week. You can even filter by a general education code, but I tend to like just seeing what all is there. So you can do it either way. Here's all the results, and anything you want to put in your plan as an option, I think of it kind of like a shopping cart. This doesn't register you for classes. You're just sort of like putting stuff in your cart for later that makes it easier to grab on registration day. You can just click add. So I remember that this was one of the recommended courses for art history, so I'll add that. And maybe a studio class. Notice that these two courses look the same. Students will sometimes ask about this. So, oh, these look like the same class. Well, yeah, but they're different times. So one might fit better with your other classes than the other, or maybe you're open to both. You could put both on your plan. It's always good to have your main courses in your plan and also backups, because something might fill on registration day and then you have a backup ready to go. And I'll put in the International Affairs 100, I'll add that. And I'll add two different sections of that. There's no reason not to. Same class, just different days and times. Okay, now to sort of see what you've put on your plan and how they fit together, you can go over here to the side to academics and then do register for classes. I'm already on fall semester here, and you have a visual, which is really nice. And here are some more details about the classes. So I can see, okay, I have some time conflicts here. I'm really heavy on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Maybe I'd go back to the course search and actually filter for Tuesday, Thursday classes if I wanted to spread it out more. Some students really like having classes all on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, your choice. But you can get a sense here for, you'd repeat these steps. You'd look up some recommended classes, find them in course catalog, add them to the plan. Any questions there? Otherwise, I can transition to showing like how you register on registration day.
Katie, we have a question about what do the symbols mean that you
Oh,
see on there?
symbols. Let's go to the symbols again.
I know that this is a common question. I've had this question asked of me in the last week or two, and I've
Oh,
had to
have
learn
you?
myself.
That's good then. Okay, so the nice thing about self-service is you can hover over these symbols and it kind of decodes it for you. So it says, oh, a restriction may apply. See the description. Oh, okay. So if you click on this, what is the restriction? Now remember, this is a test account, so not everything is always totally right in here. If I'm being honest, Rocky, I have a feeling that in the test account, this restriction is pretend and was put on to demonstrate something, because I don't know of a restriction for Art 100. But you might see a restriction like this for a different kind of class where you need the instructor's permission to register because they want to review something with you. You have a prerequisite.
Might it also have it on there if you're supposed to take two classes at a time, like that it requires like enrollment in a lab as well
Oh,
as
it could be. Sometimes it's usually just to highlight like, oh, there's something you want to make sure you know about here. For the studio ones, there's often a studio fee. And sometimes you see that for labs. So that's the little dollar sign. That's kind of intuitive. But were there other symbols that those were the two that popped up on the first
I
page.
think there's another symbol that looks like a maybe a couple of people meeting around a table I've seen this week, and I think that one seems to be the most confusing, but I think that means instructor permission required. Is that, do you know what I'm
Oh, maybe
talking
you're right.
about?
Yeah, it might. Yep. I mean, you see what I do. Anytime there's a question about it, you click on the title of the class.
Yeah,
You've got the professor and their email and how many seats and, everything you need to know, including the description.
perfect.
Good. Other things? All right, let's all time travel to July 29th or July 31st. It's registration day, and I'm going to demonstrate how to register. Um, This requires a lot of specialized setup in the test account. So there's a how-to video on our website that shows you how to do it. We're just going to watch the how-to video together because it will be less clunky than me trying to recreate it live in the test account. So I'm going to go there and you all can tell me if you can't hear it very well. Okay, you can see this, Rocky? It's okay?
Click Academics and register for classes.
I can't see anybody now, but is this going okay? You can hear it? Yes? Yes. Okay, sorry, I can't. Yeah, okay.
We encourage you to do as I've demonstrated here and place backups on your schedule, just in case top choices are full on registration day. In the calendar view, you can easily see if any courses have time conflicts. And on the sidebar, you can see if a course still has available seats. Click Register under a single course to register for one course at a time. The class will appear in green now on your weekly calendar view, and you will receive an email confirming registration. I'm now going to try registering for a class that has a co-requisite so you can see what happens. If I click register on Chem 105, I'll receive this error message. Ooh, I need to take a co-requisite lab. I'll make sure the lab is here in the list. It is. Although self-service notes, there's another section available, so I'll click that, and I'll add the other section of lab to my calendar as an option. That lab time works even better, honestly. So I'll take note of which lab section I want, section 2, go back to home, click register from the banner, and this will allow you to register for the main class lecture 105 and the co-requisite lab or discussion section or conference, whatever your course has. I'll receive an email confirmation and this pop-up bar. Here's a second way you can register for classes with co-requisites. This Register Now button will register you for everything on your schedule at once, in alphabetical order. If you were to clean up your schedule, remove backups, duplicate lab options, so that the only things listed are courses you're eligible to take, with open seats that don't conflict, no more than 19 credits, then you could click Register Now and it would put you into everything, including courses and their co-requisites. So let's clean up this list a little bit and I'll demonstrate how that works. I'll take out the extra lab section, and I'll remove a couple backups that I had on the list. Now if I click Register Now, let's see if it works. Great, everything's in green, so that's a second way that you can register for courses with co-reqs.
Okay, that's generally how to register. At this point, we often stop for more Q&A.
Katie, I'm going to ask a question that I see Nikki and Bailey answering, like for a couple of different people. Like, I know that on average, I'm seeing here we have 16 to 18 credits in your first semester. Could you talk about that recommendation and when that's appropriate or when somebody might want to take maybe a little bit less, say like 13 or 14, like maybe some advice on that?
Yes. The first, I'll say the recommendation to do about 16 is because if you do 16 credits each semester for 8 semesters, it equals 128. So, it's kind of the baseline. But the minimum to be a full-time student is 12 credits. We definitely have students come in and do 12, 13, 14 credits. They might have some credits in the bank already from AP or IB or dual enrollment, and so they can do 12 and not be behind. Totally fine. The one downside is if you're in 12 credits from the start, there's no room to drop anything in the semester and still be full-time, whereas 16 credits gives you a little bit of that buffer. But that's not me saying you shouldn't do it. I just feel like I always inform people and like remind them of the pros and cons to think about. Sometimes I'll have coach students to be in 16 and then in the first week experience all the classes and decide which one or if you want to drop something. Because in the first week or 2 weeks of the semester, you have a little room to like move some things around and it doesn't show on your record. We call it add drop period. You can make some changes. The most credits you can do as an incoming student is 19. I generally don't recommend that. There's usually no reason to go for that many from the start. I think transitioning to a new place is stressful enough, but technically it's a possibility. So that's some context on the two ends of the parameters.
Awesome. I'm trying to see if we have any other questions here that are like a common question that might help us voice for everyone. I think there are a couple of questions around the timing and how important it is for them to be there at 10 a.m. to get their courses registered on the dates that of registration or some strategies about which ones to pick?
Yes, I would be there at 10 a.m. I don't say that to incite fear, but it's just like there's enough subjects and enough courses where the seats can go kind of fast that it's just better to be there at 10. If you are doing the steps I demonstrated to prepare and put things in your plan, it's a pretty easy couple clicks. Like you could do it from your phone. You could do it anywhere you have Wi-Fi. So I know sometimes students are at work or working at a camp or something. You really might just need like a few minutes with Wi-Fi to boop, 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 click from your plan. Um, as far as what to pick, that's a great topic to, email your advisor about. You can ask for some advice. Generally, it's like the things that are only offered in fall, or there's only one section of, or maybe like studio art, there's only a few seats. So you can kind of see when you put stuff in your plan how many seats are open, and if it's not very many, oh, that's usually a good sign to register for that first. Sometimes students are like, I just really want this class. Like I really want it. I was like, great, you can make that your first choice. That's okay. But if you want to get into particulars, that's a good thing you can email your advisor about too. Mhm.
Awesome. I think maybe we're ready to either answer some more questions or I'm not sure what's next for you, Katie.
That is the main content that I demonstrate. I always try to build in lots of time for Q&A so nobody feels rushed. I will say two important things, two slides that are both important. You can email your advisor, Bailey, Nikki, or me, or look at, we'll send out emails about our drop-in availability, Zoom drop-in availability from now to registration. And also, here is the QR link for the video library we have with the how-to videos, including the one I showed in this webinar, but some others as well. I see a question, I'll just answer this live, although you guys can type an answer too. It's a good question. Can I just be undecided in my major and just take general education? I love that. First of all of you are coming in undeclared. Even if you have a major in mind, you're technically undeclared in the system. So nobody's officially declared yet. If you're not sure on the major, I really understand that, but sometimes I see students put off the angst of the decision by taking general education only. And I would actually encourage you to try some things in what you imagine you might like to major in, for a couple reasons. One, a lot of times those classes fulfill gen ed anyway. Like you're doing a 2-for-1. And two, it's really good to go into spring semester and especially sophomore year having tried some things. So now you don't have the same, I don't want you to go through a semester or two and be in the exact same decision point you are now of like, I don't know what to major in. I think it's better to try some things and then say, well, I know I don't want to do that, or, oh, that was kind of interesting. Like you want to move along in your decision process, and trying some classes is a good way to do that.
And Katie, I think you just sort of talked about this, but I'm wondering if you could share like any pitfalls that you see students often run into when they're registering for classes for the first time or planning, or maybe, what are some additional factors they should use in picking the right courses for them at the start?
The pitfalls question, I almost turn it on his head because mostly what I'm telling people is it is hard to mess up your first semester schedule. Truly. It would be very difficult for you to register for classes that I, as an advisor, would tell you were not good. Really. That's part of the whole exploration. That's part of the beauty of us giving you space to explore. It is hard to mess it up. So just kind of trust in your gut a little bit that like you really do have this. You got it. Like you can look at the list of majors and subjects and kind of read about them. I mean, educate yourself and then make some decisions and like they will be fine. It would be very hard for you to show me a list of classes and me say that's objectively not good. Really. Yeah. I don't know, Bailey and Nikki, you might have things you'd add there that I just didn't include and you want to.
I would think something I've seen in the past is like a pitfall is maybe just encouraging students to feel comfortable reaching out to us prior to registration, just to even check in. Like you have so many resources to make the best decision for you, but we are absolutely here to support you. And if you feel like it's a silly question, please just feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to help run a double check on plan, talk about strategy. I do think there's a lot of grace in this registration, so don't put too much pressure on it, but know that we're here to help support you.
I think that in that same vein, it's good to alert students to the fact that once you start classes, during that first week, week and a half of classes, there's an add drop period where you can make changes to your schedule. So let's say a student starts a class, they've been in class for one or two courses, and they've seen the syllabus and they realize this class, for whatever reason, isn't a good fit for them. That is a great time to come talk with us in the College Advising Center about how you could perhaps drop that course and add something else that would be of more interest for you. So once you start your classes, you're still not completely set in stone with what you're taking until the end of the add drop period. So there's flexibility and many different steps here along the way.
Katie, Nikki, and Bailey, like a question for you that I see here in the chat. I see it coming from a transfer student, but I think it applies to all students. What kinds of questions should they direct to their faculty advisor versus you all in the Academic Advising Center?
I'm going to answer it first for a transfer student and then generally. For incoming transfer students, we pair you with a faculty advisor earlier because the faculty advisor, and specifically the chair of the department, which is who I've matched you with, is the person empowered and given the authority to decide if or how your transfer credits apply to the major. So the registrar has already done their evaluation on if the credits come in general, but now it's the chair, your faculty advisor's decision on if and how they apply to like the psych major or the theater major. So we link you up with them early because it's it's helpful for you to know that information going into fall. They are obviously the content experts in that major, in that area. They know the ins and outs of the courses really well, what their colleagues study for research. They do a lot of specialty. And then I think what we do really well in the advising center, and this for transfers or first years, is breadth. We know a little bit about a lot. We're really good at big picture planning. We're really good at laying out in general what it would be to fit in this major with this minor with that overseas program. Kind of that big picture stuff. I think we have a really good skill set and experience for. And so when you combine the skill set of the faculty advisor and us, you get really nice complement to one another.
Katie, a really great question I got in the chat that I think is worth going over is like if a class fills up while you're registering, are you automatically waitlisted? And then are you able to try and register for a different course?
Great question. You're not automatically waitlisted, but the button that usually says register, it just turns into a button that says waitlist. Like that's how you'll know the class is full. The register button says waitlist. So you'll click waitlist to get added to the waitlist, and then you very much should go in and register for a backup class. If you get a seat off the waitlist, you'll get an email about it. You'll get an email that says like, Rocky, you're being offered a seat off the waitlist for blah, blah, blah. Go into self-service. You have 48 hours to take the seat. So Rocky would have 48 hours once he gets that email to go into self-service, add the class. He might have to drop something else to make room for it, and switch things around. If he takes no action in 48 hours, they offer the seat to the next person in line. So after registration, it's good to, check your Lewis and Clark email like once a day. That way you don't miss a waitlist email. And there can be some shuffling around in the weeks after the actual registration days. Like Registration will stay open through August, in which people shuffle around. There's some waitlist activity. You might get a seat off something, but you want to stay in tune with your email so you don't miss anything.
Hey, Katie, I have another great question here. So it says in high school, you have to take a math class, you have to take an English class, you have to take a science class, etc. Is that the same for college? Like outside of words and numbers, what types of general education requirements do we have?
Let's see, can I just go back to, I don't know. I was going to go back to the gen ed slide, but maybe it's like too much clicking. Boop, boop, boop. Okay. Oh, here we go. No, this one. I know that in high school, well, students will say to me, okay, I assume for fall I need to pick one science, one math, one English, one whatever. That's the old model that you're just letting it fall out of your head. You don't have to pick that way. Instead, you're going to be in core if you're a first year student, and then you're trying out some areas. That's your 3 other classes. You're trying some things out. Before you graduate, you need like one class basically in each of these categories here on the screen. I mean, for world language, you might need more than one, depending on where you start. But you just gotta like hit each category. But that's before you graduate. And again, there's a lot of overlap between fulfilling gen ed and maybe trying some things for your major and minor. So no, you can let go of that model of like, I gotta pick one of this and one of this and one of this each term. You don't have to do that anymore.
Katie, we definitely have a few questions here in the list about major declaration and what that process looked like, when it happens, and what is the importance of doing it early or later, or does it matter at all?
You have to declare once you've earned 45 credits. For if you're an incoming first year with no APIB transfer credit, you have to declare like February of your sophomore year. But if you're a student with a whole bunch of credits, that 45 credit, total might hit you sooner, might hit you in the coming next year. That's okay. Like I would say you declare, make your best guess. You can change it later. It's not set in stone. You can come see us, talk about the decision. So yeah, some people might be required to declare earlier because they have so much credit in the bank. But again, you could make changes to that later if you need to.
Speaking of credit in the bank, could you talk a little bit about like the AP and IB sort of credit and what that process looks like, and the timelines for finding how much, credit has been granted? Like, how long will it take them to find out if they haven't done it? And obviously, if they have, they should do it right away if they haven't done it already. But maybe talk a little bit about that process. I see quite a few questions about that in the chat.
About it,
Yeah.
I'm sitting here, I'm wondering if in the test account things are actually good enough I could show. So let's try it. Okay, I went to academics, student planning, plan and schedule. Obviously this is a test account with a whole bunch in there. But if you repeated these steps on your own self-service and clicked timeline, you can go back, 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 back. You won't have to go back as far as this. And there's a non-term courses box. And if you have AP or IB credit, it's in here. I've been working with students in their screen sharing, in the last week or so, and we can see if it's here. If you go check and there's no credit there, and there should be credit there, you will have to send your official AP scores or your IB scores or an official transcript from the college where you took dual enrollment credit to our registrar's office. And they will process the credit, and then you can see it here. If you have a lot of transfer credit, they will email you when they've evaluated it and say, I keep picking on Rocky. Rocky, you have 16 transfer credits from this college. You can see it in self-service. Like I've been copied on some of those emails so far for advisees who have credit. Let's see, L. Clark. If you search L. Clark catalog, you will find our catalog, which of course used to be like a physical catalog. Now it's online, all the rules. And under academic policies and procedures, advanced standing is the not totally intuitive, but that is the title of the thing you need to click to see what AP scores and what IB scores equate to credit at the college.
Katie, we have a couple of questions about credits outside of transfer credits or AP and IB credits, such as CLEP tests and Cambridge credits, and how those may or may not be applied.
So we're really clear on this advanced standing page that credit is not granted for CLEP. So that's in the policy, no credit for CLEP. For other credit, they're saying Lewis and Clark will also consider the following types: British A-level, Caribbean advanced proficiency, French baccalaureate, and similar international exams. And you submit documentation to the registrar for review. So all of these credit evaluation and transfer questions go through our registrar's office.
Thanks for showing that to us.
Yes, good question.
Katie, I know that this is a complicated question, but I've seen Nikki and Bailey answering it multiple times. Could you maybe, or versions of it, could you maybe talk a little bit about like how, if you take a course that's maybe a gen ed and a major, or a major and a minor, does it count for both? Do you have to find a different course? I know it's a little bit of a nuanced question, but I have seen Bailey and Nikki trying to respond to those questions a lot. So I'm going to guess that a lot of other people maybe have those questions.
Yes, this is part, I think I've kind of hinted towards this when I've said you may fulfill gen ed almost by accident as you try out majors, because it's completely fine to overlap a major minor requirement with counting something towards gen ed. There's no limitations there, actually. Go for it. No problem. There are a couple limitations on how much you can overlap between two majors or a major and a minor. It doesn't come up except for a few combinations, like neuroscience minor and psychology major. You have to that rule comes into play. It's not super common, but just be aware if you're doing multiple majors and minors, there is a discrete credit requirement on a little separation. But major, minor, and gen ed have that. The gen ed and major minors overlap a lot for lots of students, totally fine.
Awesome, thank you. Hopefully that'll help some folks.
That's also why it's hard to do a bad schedule. It's like, great. You thought this was going to be your major, now you've changed your mind, but it still counts towards this gen ed thing. Great, good, awesome. Maybe no one has exactly asked this, but I'm going to show it because sometimes students will say, but how would I find out what counts towards gen ed? Again, I don't want you to overuse what I'm about to tell you. We're not trying to do all gen ed in your first term, all gen ed in your first year, but if you're curious, you can put in the term, and then this course type filter at the bottom, you can filter for a general education category. So you could say, just show me everything that counts for global perspectives in the fall. Oh, look, the art class we already planned on for Bailey's pretend major is global perspective. Like, great example of how the two overlap. And everything here counts for global perspectives. There will be high level things in here you won't necessarily have access to as a first year, but this is everything that.
I think our pace of questions have started to slow down here. I'm quite impressed by how many we've run through. Um,
Yeah, they've been very good questions.
I guess, Katie, if people have questions when they're watching this video or after the fact when they've thought about this a little bit more, um, who should they contact and how?
They can email us, so they should have emails from Bailey, Nikki, or Katie. They're welcome to email us. Um, that's probably the easiest thing. And or you can just search your email because you probably have a recent email and more in our emails, we're gonna highlight like upcoming drop-in advising sessions. If you just want to pop into Zoom and ask a quick question too.
Yeah, I think that's a great reminder. One of the things in college is you need to check that email. You'd be amazed at how many emails you get, and sometimes it can be frustrating. It feels like there's a lot to read, but usually they're reminders about these things with the information that you actually maybe already have a question about. I know that our team also in first year experience and student engagement is also here to direct you. Sometimes we can answer very quick questions, but if we can't, we can definitely direct you to the appropriate teams here at Lewis and Clark. So I know that Gabby and Mary are here to help as well.
And real quick, I saw a question about how do you see how many credits a class is? So my screen was sort of shortened for some of the demonstrations, but when you're looking up classes in here, if you go all the way to the side, it tells you not just what time, but the faculty member, how many available seats, and the credits. It was there. I just wasn't like expanded enough.
Katie, can you also just quickly highlight where the meeting information is for the times that classes are offered? And then if you're able to show us the calendar view as well, that would be helpful for a student who had questions about if they can kind of choose like when classes are offered or what times and things like that.
So the days and times that the classes is offered is right here when you're looking it up. The only way that you can sort of choose is for things where there's multiple sections of the same course. So for example, IA 100, there's, at least in the test account, multiple options of that class. So you could decide if you want Monday, Wednesday, Friday, midday, Monday, Wednesday, longer class, Tuesday, Thursday afternoon. You could choose that way. Otherwise, the courses are coming with a preset schedule. When you go to register for classes, that's where you can see this calendar view of what you've put into your plan, and you can see what days and times they are and if they conflict with one another.
I'll plug this in, Katie. I answered a previously question here about like when is lunch and how do I make sure it fits in here?
Oh, that's a great
And I
question.
and I was like, I got to answer a question. So I think one of the things is there isn't one lunch, right? Like this is about scheduling yourself. Like we have multiple dining venues on campus that are open for lunch. We have the Tro Room, we have Fields Dining Hall. The students call that the Bone. Usually the primary dining hall is open for about 3 hours from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. And so, like looking at this calendar, I see several times where like lunch could pop in and grab it. So there's not one time for lunch. You're able to sort of adapt your lunchtime based on your needs, but also your class needs.
Okay, well, I imagine people might think of more questions, but maybe the pace is slowed enough. We could end here, Rocky, and then if you have more questions, you write to me, Bailey, or Nikki.
I think that that's a great idea. So I want to thank everybody for attending. Again, this is our last official webinar, but that doesn't mean that we're not here to help you. We'll be communicating to you all throughout the rest of the summer before you arrive here in about 5 or 6 weeks. We're very excited to have you, whether you're coming on a new student trip or you're going to be joining us on move-in day for the first time. We're very excited to see you and have you here. Be on the lookout for the splash that's coming out to you every week with more information on the tasks that you all need to complete and other information that may have questions for you. And don't be afraid to reach out to the advising office when it comes to registration and your advisor, or to our team if you have any questions, and we'll be able to help you with what those questions look like. So I want to wish you all a great day and a great time, and we look forward to seeing and having you here on campus soon.